economic ministers, right, to take this and build it to ASEAN, into all the ASEAN countries. So we hope to find our partners in ASEAN, and then we can really build this into an ASEAN-wide community of responsible and inclusive businesses, right? And then of course the third thing we do is we run our once a year major gathering, right, so that we can, I think business networking, the camaraderie, the trust, that we have in one another is also a very important success factor for our business. Right? So talking about social enterprise, all right, so it's not just what I'm saying, all right. I like to quote 3 sources to show you that, all right, this is the new world, all right. People are saying COVID will change many things. I think one of the changes is this thing, the rise of social enterprise, all right. The new millennia, the smart, consumers are beginning to be aware, all right. The supply chain are also beginning to be aware. There are a lot of problems. There are enterprises who are contributing to the problems, all right. So I think increasingly when people realize that, there are many socially irresponsible businesses, all right. Sometimes they may not be very blatant, but if we stand out as a socially responsible company, I think that's going to be good for our business. And of course, all the more if we have practices, right? We have policies in place, how you manage your staff, how you recruit, how you procure, right? All this in a whole value chain, how you are playing a part to support social responsibility. I think that is going to go well with the new consumers, okay? So that's what research have done, right? So the earlier was by Deloitte, this is by Forbes, calling social enterprise a new paradigm for business, all right? Some people call it the new economic pillar, right? That's the social business, right? And I think this is another interesting article by Harvard Business Review. Right? I just cite a simple paragraph there. It says 8 years ago, they launched a global study of high growth companies, right, investigating the importance of 3 strategies, right, known to drive it: creating new markets, serving broader stakeholders' needs, and changing the rule of the games. They say what surprised us, although each of those approaches did boost growth at organization we studied, the 4th driver we hadn't considered at all is about purpose. Right? So a purpose-driven organization, I think, is going to be key, in how leaders are able to, mobilize, energize, motivate their people. So so that's basically our 3 things, right? Purposefulness, ASEAN community, and organizing this mega event. So that's really our 3 things we want to do, okay. So in 2020, right, we're going to put 3 events together. One is the ASEAN CSR conference, right? Then one is our award, and then the next also we alongside it, we are the co-organizer for Invention Convention, which is also another award, right? But that's for a different category. So we're going to run these 3 things together, and we're targeting 24th of September. We know, in this climate, maybe have some uncertainty, but we will try our best to make it happen. Okay, so what's ASEAN CSR conference? So we are working with NUS, Professor Lawrence Loh, who's also in charge of sustainability. So we're gonna do a special focus. Technology plays a very important role in this area. So particularly in the area of technology for good. So we'll be looking at blockchain, how that drives social impact, how that can make a difference. So so I think that's going to be a lot of discovery, a lot of trend that we will this Prof. Loh will share from his research. All right. Then Invention Convention is a program that is run by the American, right, under the Henry Ford Foundation and Henry Ford Museum. So they have been doing this for a long time, and it has always been done in the US. So for the first time, they're doing it outside of US. And they have decided to do it in Singapore, and they picked us as their partner, right? So we will co-organize this together with them as well. And then, of course, our Brands for Good. Okay, Brands for Good, while the award is a way to recognize businesses with inspiring story, inspiring business model that is newsworthy. And then we tie up with Business Times, we tie up with various media platform, right, to be a third-party endorsement of this business model, right? Because we also want to help them. We also want to, help them build their brand awareness. Okay. So these are the 5 categories: good leadership, good capital for good, design for good, technology for good. So we hope those of you who feel that your business model, or you have your businesses that befit any of this role, please nominate yourself, right? Join us in our community. And as a community, how do we help our community, right? We have, we look into many aspects of financing. That's why we have Maybank, and then I think increasingly we are having many community members who are stepping up to say, hey, they have got interesting insight that they can share as well. All right. Government grants, I usually do this part because I have been in the government in IE Singapore for almost 10 years. All right. And I also have been a practicing consultant. So I have a fair bit of my own experience. So I can share with people who are new to this, and then, hopefully that will help. So we also create a lot of market access because of our ASEAN CSR network. And this market access, we hope it makes it easier for you to build your inroads into some new markets, right? Today, Brands for Good has about 300 companies, right? Strong, right? Both our nominees and our winners putting all together, plus our partners, and all. So we hope to be a hub, right? And most recently, we tie up with BOP, with BOP Hub, which is a building of also a co-work space, and they are building the co-work space for social enterprises, right? So we're going to run many support programs out of that building as well. And okay, all right. Then we also encourage interest group, people who find, they may be passionate in different areas, right? Education, water issues, energy issues, right? Whatever it is, we organize interest group, then rally fellow entrepreneurs together, and then they can pursue those interests. We also tie up with many trainers who has gotten grants, who has we also gotten funds that we put it back, right? Donation from philanthropy to help you go through training and pick up new skills or gain insights into new trends. All right, I know we have many trainers that I realize that some they read a lot, they analyze a lot. So when you attend their training, it actually help you maybe save you your time from having to read many books, right? So in that maybe few hours, you are introduced to many new concepts. All right. So we also have a lot of technology partners like Peace Future, right? Jason is going to share later. So he has access to many patents, right? From Nokia, from Panasonic, from many technology company. So rather than you having to invent your own technology, like I said, just reach out to them and strike out a deal, right? You can become their commercialization partner, and then also save you a lot of time, right? And so what we are here is the eighth area is to help you build your brand awareness. What I mentioned earlier, right? Tying up with Business Times and within our community, right? So we sometimes also invite we give opportunity to our members, right, to feature themselves. Yeah. So that's some of the before COVID, we had opportunities to get together. All right, so we organized a lot of this kind of get together with industry leaders, with policy makers, right, to gain insight into some of their thinking, right? But of course, now that we can't do this kind of meetings, so we do a lot of online, and I think online, of course, also could be a new way to get together, right? Okay, so we are open for nomination. We hope you all will support us, nominate yourself, be part of our community. Okay, so that's the first part of my sharing. Now, the second part, I'm going to talk a bit about grants, and I'm going to sort of maybe move through a bit faster, right? So that maybe we all know there are many grants, right? But I like to introduce you to two perspectives, right? You can look at it from an applicant perspective. You can also look at it from an industry perspective. Because we have many specialized agency, right? For example, construction related. If you're a construction related company, BCA, Building Construction Authority, also have grants to help construction industry. If you're finance related, who can you go to? Yes, you can go to MAS. If you're tourism related, you can go to STB. Many more, right? But there are also the more generic grants that are usually handled by ESG. So that's why ESG tends to be more popular. But let me skim through. I see there are 3 levels, right? Again, different agency runs a different time, and sometimes they may have different criteria. To the individuals, it is about skills future. I think this one you are familiar, so I'm not going to talk too much, right? To the employers, all right, there is a whole series of grant to support you in hiring, right? Career support program. These are the few popular ones, right? PMAX, professional conversion program, all right? Skills future for digital workforce, work-life grant, all right? So that's targeted for you to support you from an employer perspective, all right? Enterprise is generally bigger, right? So under MTI, there are 9 statutory boards. Every one of them have their own specific focus, okay? But is that also, I mentioned earlier, right? Now, IMDA drives the technology side. MAS for the financial related, right? Capital markets, fintech, all that. BCA for construction, RAISE for welfare organization. You can also go to RAISE under their venture for good, right? If you have a social, you want to set up a social enterprise, they can support you up to $300,000 of grants. MCCY for some cooperatives, right? I think some people talk about setting up a cooperative, they grant for this kind of thing. Yeah. And of course, then the sports, right? Under Sports Singapore. Then IRAS has a lot of, I think most recently, a lot of the relief measure are all coming out from IRAS. And I think previously also a lot of the grants like PIC, all that all came out from IRAS. Why is it important to know this difference? Because every agency run their grant differently. All right, you cannot take a ESG's criteria and go to IRAS and say, that's how I understand ESG grant is, and you try to apply it to IRAS. Or go to IMDA and try to use IMDA's criteria with ESG. They all may organize themselves slightly differently. And that's the reason why sometimes it can be quite confusing. Singapore in total has 15 ministries, all right? And out of the 15 ministries, there are 50 statutory boards. Most of the statutory boards, they all have their grants. And that's why when you add together, there are plenty of grants. That's why it can get very confusing, okay? So let me focus on ESG. ESG's grant, there are 3 pillars: core capabilities, innovation, productivity, market access. I can't go through in this one setting to elaborate every one of them, right? It takes up too much time, okay? When Jackie was doing branding, I talk about brand related grant, right? Then when Charlie, I spoke about the Skills Future and the Skills Future credit, right? So now to tie my grant talk with what Jason is going to present, it's going to fit into the business strategy development, right? So if you're interested in the intellectual property component, that's why you can see here on the second paragraph, right? Development of strategy processes to protect and monetize intellectual property assets as well as optimize R&D operation. So all IP related can come under this category, right? And government only until end of 2020, right? You can get up to 80%, right? And in certain industry, if you can tell ESG that you are very, very, very affected, then they may give you up to 90% on case by case basis. All right. So before I end off, this is my last slide. Let me give you 5 pieces of my personal advice, right? Grants are reimbursement basis. You got no cash flow, grant may be still tough for you, right? Government is not going to give you money. So this is where some people may be willing, if you're prepared to take a loan, all right? So this is where talking to Maybank, talking to some financial institution, they may be willing to lend you using the grant, the letter of offer, all right, from ESG as a basis of collateral. Okay, so do think about your cash flow. All right, now grant is a process. It takes time to join the queue. I think now may take up to 3 months. So don't, I need something next month. Or you think, okay, I'm going to apply grant, it's going to be approved. All right, plan ahead. Give yourself up to maybe 3 to 4 months now, this buffer period, because it's a long queue. All right, and grant has a policy called non-retrospective, right? You cannot do the work until your grant is approved. If you go and do the work before it's approved, then that is disqualified. Okay. All right, then understand. I know no matter what, there is still bureaucracy you have to follow. All right, you have to make sure your paperwork is done properly. They ask you a lot of sometimes a very irritating question, but well, they have their audit. They have their own audit process, so you have no choice. Okay. So understand that these are the 2 questions some people ask. Oh, I'm a startup, I got no revenue, can I get grant? Standard rule of the thumb is that you need 3 years financial statement. All right, they look at your revenue to know the size of your operation, and that will determine also the amount of grant they're willing to give you. Okay, if you're a $100,000 company, you want to apply for a $100,000 grant, I personally think it's tough, right? You have to commensurate lah. Then maybe go for a 30-40K grant will be easier. If you are a few $1 million, yeah, maybe to get 100,000 is easy, right? Then why do they want to know your profit? Does it mean you only can get grant if you're profitable? The answer is no. Right? If you're not profitable, you can still get grant. But they're going to ask you, you're not profitable, how are you going to finance? Because remember, point number 1, cash flow. They're going to ask you, how are you going to get your money? Then you can say, okay, I've got a new investor, I managed to borrow money, I can fundraise it somehow. There's still ways to reason with ESG, right? Then they may be willing to still give you the grant even though you're not profitable. So, okay, that's my presentation. Thank you for your attention. Back to you, Glenn.
Thanks a lot, Alan. Okay, I just wanted to do a quick one, and then I know we're getting a little bit patient, we're a bit behind, so I'll quickly pass it on to Elena. Elena, you want to say a little hi from Maybank?
Hi, Elena from Maybank here. We have been in this partnership with Brands for Goods for the past 3 years. So it has indeed been a wonderful journey for us over at Maybank also. So I won't be going into a lot about Maybank, but I still need to sell a little bit of Koyok for the bank. I mean, we Maybank for 16 years, and basically Maybank has been in Singapore for 60 years. All right. So this year, supposedly, we celebrate our 60 years anniversary, but because of COVID, it has no celebration as yet. That's what we can see. Maybank is actually no longer a Malaysia bank as per se. We are localized in the sense that local incorp since 2018 November. So we are just like the local bank. And with our missions of humanizing financial services, we are definitely here to assist the SMEs, the segment that I'm from. So we are definitely here to assist SMEs in to go through this pandemics that we are currently having. Okay, so the packages that we are having, okay, I won't go into in depth. I'll just say that we have financing packages for all SMEs that are looking at cash flow at this current junction. So we administer the enterprise kind of financing, which is the enhanced working capital loans, temporary bridging loans. Then we have also trade facilities as well as trade insurance. And as for existing customers of ours that have commercial property with the bank, all right, rest assured that we offer actually more than what the industry are doing. That means other than deferred payment of 12%, 12 months deferred payment for most of the loans, right? Property loans is at deferred payment until end of December. So for Maybank itself, the property deferment is not just in terms of principal. We will defer the principal and interest for property financing with Maybank. That means our existing customers. But for the rest of the loans, right, we are seeing 12 months moratorium for principal repayment. Okay, so I won't delve much into the respective product. So I'll be around in one of the breakout rooms later. So if you do have questions pertaining to the financings, well, join one of the rooms that I'll be in, or you can always email me to find finance to Glenn.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Elena. Keeping it very, very tight. I'll passing on to Jason. Jason, are you there? Jason Lin, sorry. Quick one.
Hey, hi.
Okay, so I a quick one to introduce Jason. Jason is actually going to be speaking next week. I met this young man, and he's really very young. This young-looking man, about a year and a half ago. He was in Cambodia, and he actually packed his bag 4 or 5 years ago and said, "Hey, opportunity isn't in Singapore anymore," and took roots in Cambodia and set up there, and then set up Singapore Cambodia Business Incubator there, and he's been bringing Singapore businesses to Cambodia for the last 3 years already, Jason?
Yeah, I think it's the last 4 years to Cambodia.
And he's got a wealth of insight into what's happening in Cambodia, and we decided to sort of expand that and share that with Jason next week. So Jason, over to you.
Well, I mean, hi everybody. I'm Jason. So I'm the founder of this platform called Singapore Cambodia Business Incubator. Right. So right now in Cambodia, we are close to our 4th year in operations, and what we do is very simple. We help companies to get in roots into this market, into Indochina, starting from Cambodia, right? Because we believe that Cambodia is the fastest and the easiest for you to get something to set up before you can go into places like Vietnam or Myanmar or even Thailand market, which is more established and more developed, right? So we see a lot of opportunities in Cambodia, and we think there's a lot of things that you can go for to build your business. Yeah.
All right. Thanks very much, Jason. Okay, so for those of you who would like to get to know Cambodia a little bit better and what Cambodia has to offer, Jason Lin will be there next week, or be here next week to share with us a little bit. Sorry for all the rush. I know we're a bit tight, and today's introduction was a bit longer than usual. Thank you very much, Jason, Lin.
Yeah.
Okay, for the time. Okay, so Jason Low. Okay, now to the main course, right? And we get a chance to finally share. Now, Jason has been a partner and a friend for the last 2 years as well, and he actually is a man of many talents. One of the few interesting facts about Jason is I don't think many people know he was actually voted top 300 IP strategists globally. I don't know how many donkey years already. So Jason used to be with head of IP for Panasonic, and then of course I think he came out and struck out on his own about 2 years back, right, Jason? Yep. Okay. So anyway, Jason Low, IP Hatch, Peace Future and I2P Ventures.
Thank you, Glenn. Thank you for your kind introduction, and I'm very glad to be working with you as well. Hello everyone. I'm Jason Low. As what Glenn say, I'm now one of the founder for Peace Future, which I'm going to share some slides to you so you get to know a little bit about me. So I'm going to do it right now. Okay, so when Glenn approached me to share something with you guys, I think one of the topics, of course, at heart is IP. I mean, just to give you a little bit of background, after I left my corporate world, I have started an incubator as well, incubating startups. And then moving forward, we also have formed a venture capital fund about 2 years ago to invest into IP-rich startups. So I would say my journey after my corporate life is quite different because we are looking at very different dimension of stuff. Because usually in the MNC, like Panasonic, we're looking at very big scale global stuff. And when I left the company and then I took one step down, so it means that I go on to the SME level. So I begin to see things from another aspect. And of course, right now, I think majority of my business come from multinational company, and that's where Peace Future is working. But I have another hat is actually to incubate and also nurture startups. So I have a total of 20 startups under my portfolio. 15 is through IP Hatch, which is through Peace Future, and then another 4 is 5 actually through my incubator called I2P Ventures. All right, so looking through the eyes of the small companies as well as startups, I begin to see things quite differently, and then I see something that the multinational company has, the small company actually most of the time they don't have time. They don't have time for it. So today I'm going to gear my topic a little bit to showing you guys what is innovation. How you guys could innovate in a very concise and quick manner. And then following by what is IP, so that you can identify IP within your own company and see how it could maximize the value and also returns. So I'll also give you some examples of how big companies and even small companies, how they deal with IP and what are the advantages they can have. And at the same time, I'll be talking a little bit about things like what are the available ways of you obtaining IP. So I will talk about the multinational companies portfolio that I have that you can potentially look at partnering, buying, or even think of some innovation model together with them. And we also have this platform called IP Hatch, which is currently running and the closing date is soon. So we will introduce you to that as well. So before that, let me go through what is Peace Future, just in case you're wondering, what's my business model? Why am I doing this? We are basically an IP bank, all right? So we work with a multinational company to transform the way they use IP. So we actually looked at 2 fronts. One is on the multinational side, which is more on our clients, and also on the recipient side, which is more on the SME, okay? So for our mission to SME, basically is to how to take IP to help them to piece out a sound future for them to become successful globally, all right? So that is one of our core mission. And how do we actually achieve that is through 4 pillars of processes that we go through. I think very typically everybody will go through some advisory. So we work very closely with multinational company to advise them on how they better utilize their IP, and at the same time how they can collaborate with small company. So we do that on the first piece, and we also do kind of portfolio management, Because when you have a piece of portfolio within your company, you need to very effectively maintain them and use them and see how you can maximize value. Even if you're a startup, you need to really position your value very clearly to the venture capital, because they wouldn't be doing a lot of drilling, but in fact they want you to show to them whether you understand your own asset. So very much in the IP portfolio management, we looked at investments, we looked at sales, we looked at, like what Alan actually introduced earlier. Yes, we do have a portfolio of patents for purchase. If companies in Singapore, the region they want, I mean, they can always approach me, we can put up something for them. The reason is because instead of you building your patent portfolio from from zero, all right, it's every time very good to buy a portfolio, because you are certain that you already gotten the budget protection. At the same time, you build on top of it. And these things we will always follow through with you. And of course, in Peace Future, we also do an innovation platform called IP Hatch. And last of all, we have a venture capital fund to actually wrap up the whole thing. So that's a very, very quick introduction of Peace Future. I don't want to bore you with too much information about our company. So if you want, you can always contact me privately. All right, I'm going to skip through this. So, I mean, just to let you know, we do have also an innovation ecosystem that we formulate in Singapore, which you can see all the different partners. You can see many major brands looking at their logos and all that. In Hong Kong as well, we work with Hong Kong Trade Office. In Singapore, we work with IPI. So these are the different agencies. We also work with venture capital. So we have a lot of extensive network to all of them. And very importantly, maybe some of you may be interested, is that we also work with Nomura Security. So Nomura Securities, they are also looking for a promising company from Singapore to enter into Japan. So if you think that you have a good business, you always can come to us, to look at how you can enter Japan market, or looking for investments or sale. All right, you can always contact CEO Asia to tell them that you're interested. You can always contact me after that. Okay, so let me just dive into today's topic. All right, I don't want to bore you our company information too much. So innovation and IP. Okay, these two to me is very much hand in hand. All right, because I was in the corporate for 16 years. Namely, I have gone through from a typical engineer to kind of R&D strategy, the head of R&D strategy for Singapore, the laboratory for Panasonic in Singapore. And I'm also the head of region for Panasonic IP for Southeast Asia and South Asia. So by looking at this too closely, every time when we are talking about new innovation or new technology we're developing, this two comes hand in hand. A lot of times, when I talk to local companies and small companies, this two is always of a different frequency. All right, they're talking about innovation, but they never think about IP. And why the multinational company think of that is because they always know that there will be a very important element of protection of their rights, as well as kind of mitigating their risks if they go into a certain area. So I personally have witnessed a few technologies, fantastic technologies, but most of the multinational company actually deter away from that. One of the reasons is because we found out that a certain company has a lot of patents on it, and nobody wants to fall into the trap to develop in that area and help them to promote. So it becomes kind of like intelligence too. If you go into IP early, it's not just an intelligence tool, but you actually can learn a lot about other competitors' strategy. All right, from a very legitimate way, instead of trying to just look through papers or look through reports and all that. But actually, patent intelligence is phenomenal. I mean, personally, I've done many different intelligence on different type of technologies, different kind of companies. We can know more or less what these guys are aiming for, and you have to counter your own strategy on that. So today, all right, I'm just going to run through some of the topics, and I'm going to keep it short. I'm a networker. I like to really spend time networking with people, so I'm not going to run through this in a very, very detailed way. So we'll try to keep this short. So the topics actually, first of all, is I want to introduce you the business trilogy. All right, how to balance your business. Okay, and now I'll talk about the ways of innovation. Understanding your business is very, very important, because I have like say 20 startups under my management, and what I realized that a lot of startups, we need to coach them again and again. How do they actually know where are their businesses standing? All right, so that is something that I'm going to briefly touch about. I'm going to tell you about how do we leverage on technologies and the importance of IP. All right, so this is the agenda. So this business trilogy is something very simple. You just need to know everything we do in a business, in a company, is for business. All right, that's why it's at the peak, at the apex, right? And then of course you have innovation right in the middle, because these things, I mean, to be honest, do you think that as the IP bank, do we have innovation? Do we have R&D? The answer is yes. All right, we are researching on new products, researching on new ways to do things, refining our stuff on and off, and also having actually a very tight 3-year planning, you know, what we're going to achieve and so forth. A lot of times I don't see that in small, medium company. Why? Because maybe the founders don't have the kind of exposure to multinational kind of ways of doing things. Because in a multinational company, they plan like mid-term, long-term, and even additionally, I mean, extraordinarily long-term, or like 10 years or even 20 years. Why? The reason is because they need to prepare their businesses, because multinational company move slow. So they have to really be planning ahead. Okay, but what does that relate to small, medium enterprise like in our region? Yes, they move very, very fast. They're more agile. They are more adaptable to different business situations. However, if you don't have a proper planning, right, you will find that a lot of strategy is going all over the place. Especially that's where you find there's no IP in your company, because you are moving without any plans and without any kind of roadmap for your company. So I would say, think about this. I mean, if you can't remember anything I say, think about these 3 elements today. All right, very simple. Take away this triangle: the business as the apex, technology, because everything we do now, you need technology. I mean, forget the times where you say, I can live with paper and pen. Unfortunately, no. I mean, digital technology is there for you to utilize. I mean, for the sheer fact that this conversation we can have today is because of the video conferencing technology that has been developed by many companies, conceptualized over decades. All right, even back the days when maybe you're watching all the TV series, when they have all the video conferencing stuff in the past, like in Jackson cartoons or in Star Trek or whatever. All these things are coming to realization, all right, because of technology. And intellectual property actually bind them together, all right. And intellectual property, I will explain in a later stage whereby what are the different forms of intellectual property. But it is the only way that you secure your asset value. How do you know why? I mean, the reason why is because if you go and Google, all right, you will find that now you can find information about your intellectual property value, all right. Say, for example, you can, when you Google, they say 80% of the company's asset resides in intellectual property. That is the trend. In the past, is a lot more on physical asset, like your buildings, your stocks and all that. Now, no. Now it's all into intellectual property. And very, very frankly, if you look at the trade wars, you look at all the different kind of happenings in the past, you see a lot of patent wars, like Samsung, Apple, Ericsson, Apple, and you have all the patent trolls and all that in the US, all right. But now you see a lot more happening between US and China, and then within China. Okay, so how does that impact you? The point is that intellectual property is a well-known so-called vehicle, or should I say a tool, where negotiation of different countries come when talk about trade. And therefore, when you're talking about intellectual property, about your value of your company, depends on what kind of company you are, all right, this value will definitely be of something significant in future. I'll tell you a little bit more about that later, all right? So let me dive down to what is innovation. So a lot of times people ask, so how do we innovate? What do we do with innovation, or how do we start with innovation? I think this topic has been spoken to by many people. I mean, I happen to have some very interesting material, because I'm also affiliated to an innovation institute in UK, which the professor and founder is my great good fan. So this basically, innovation, all right, is a lot of times people think innovation involves a whole process from opportunity identification to development and so on, and sales and marketing. But you see, innovation is always about something that I feel, all right, in a very layman way, for which somebody will pay, all right. So you have innovation, but ultimate aim, you want to make sure that something is acquired by your customer, all right. Even if you want a new startup, the first thing that people come to my mind, your mind, I mean, as a VC, sometimes they will ask, so what is your customer? Who's your customer? Who is your pitch? All right, so that is very important. So there's a lot of emphasis placed on technology, information, and process innovation. However, if you go through, all right, basically innovation is something like spending knowledge to make money, all right, whereas invention is more like spending pound of money to actually create knowledge. I mean, it's quite different, all right? So in the middle, I've defined these two definitions, which is interesting, all right? And then of course, the innovation comes through other, new product and so forth. So these are things that you will need to think through, because always you have a new invention coming out in the patent world. However, innovation is all about making money. Okay, so you have to think that innovation is more business driven. Invention is to create knowledge to make innovation happen better. Okay. And why innovate? Okay, this is most important. If you are thinking of how to innovate now, okay, this is something. This is a time of the decade or even century. All right. So definitely think, because this things that whatever we say here is not something that we crop out today. Okay, so for example, innovate. The reasons for innovate, first of all, during the war times and all that, is about survival. All right. Do you think we are now in a COVID-19, we are in a survival mode? The answer is yes and no. All right. Yes is for a lot of things are happening. For example, with the COVID-19, I've seen initiatives from governments, from also companies to actually do more urban farming. All right. Why? Because they want to be more self-sustainable. So this is just one very, very comprehensive material, all right, that we have gotten to show you, all right, basically to tell you how you could innovate your particular business. So for example, you want to innovate for financial returns, that's for sure, everybody do that. For productivity increment, new market to solve a problem, for efficiency, to adapt to market changes, like for example, right now, COVID-19, all right, profit or continual improvement, differentiation. These are all things that you will come to think about when you innovate. But a lot of times, I don't know why, some people just so how do you actually innovate? Actually, you start with why you want to innovate, all right? So these are things that you can think about. And sources of innovation could be, first of all, if you want to innovate, there's always observing, all right? Copying is the easiest. You copy and then you become better, it's through observation, all right? Transferable, all right? So for example, if you're looking for one sector to another sector, right? Whatever things that you're now in the marine industry, you think that it's good to transfer onto the land, why not? You can transfer ideas, application from one sector to another sector. Unexpected and a surprising event. All right, this is absolutely where we are at right now. It's unexpected. Back in December, everybody's still partying. In January, people are still partying. It's until February, things are changing, and then things are starting to look a little bit more risky, and then that's where all the lockdowns happen and so forth. All right, so unexpected events. In fact, I think this is a common topic. Why are we at this emerge stronger thing? So I want you to think a little bit further than just now. All right. Think of what will change beyond this COVID-19 and what will change back. All right. A lot of people think of what will change, but a lot of people forgot that some things will change back to normal. All right. There's some things that not everything will change. All right. For example, will we be doing so much online? The answer is probably this year we will do a lot of webinars. Will next year be the same? I would say it will get lesser because people will still go back to the physical interaction. However, maybe only for special stuff. So you need to be very niche in order to organize events or conferences and so forth to give a reason why people are to be there. All right, because now all the whole entire corporate world know that actually you do not need to travel, you still can operate. All right, the only thing is what is the, like for example, right now co-working space. Is there a need for co-working space in future? There's always two thoughts, right? Because personally, we have invested in co-working space, and the answer is yes and no. All right, yes means we may see more corporates getting off their offices because they may think that majority of the guys can work from home. All right, we only just need very temporary office. Yeah, so maybe they'll reduce, and then co-working space get a lot more adoption. Then for co-working space that are not so focused or may not be so well established, maybe they will have less people because the economic situation will turn down, and therefore the small companies will not be able to rent those less famous co-working space. So we need to look at always two sides of the coin. Okay, so what are the sources of innovation? Regulations, all right. Regulations is always something that is very, very powerful. I personally have met some customers that based on regulations, they actually come up with technology to actually fulfill that. For example, all right, I mean, I wouldn't be saying what exactly they do. So there's kind of a regulations in the shipping industry, and they have to ensure a certain safety. And this company that I know come up with some kind of technology to address that, and then actually feed to the regulations. And that's amazing because he's thinking of a licensing model even in future, because his technology is tied in with the regulations, which in a way, in the world of patenting, we always think that, as long as you tie to some standards, we call that standard essential patent. And that's great for licensing. And these companies from Europe, to be honest, I mean, not many Asian companies cannot think so far. They only think of whatever they're selling now, but they are not thinking about the licensing model. They're not thinking about future and how do they get money, even though they are not there. All right, the Westerners are very good at that, which I will share some of the examples with you shortly. All right, necessity, inspiration, user innovation, and market response. So these are all the sources of, majority of the sources of information that you can actually leverage on. So think about what you can actually come out during such times, and then innovate your business along the way. And even if you are a startup, all right, these are things that you can observe, and these are things that you can implement. Okay. All right. Next part of the trilogy is understanding business. All right. Understanding business is very, very straightforward. I just want to ask, what is your business model? All right. These are the different, very famous international company, but who are you? All right. You can think of how the Gillette does, the Xerox, how they do it, the Amazon networking effect, and you talk about Google, the advertising model. What is your business model? I mean, you could be running a company with traditional services. You could have some products, but where do you feed? Are you unique in terms of your business model, or are you something that can, is your business model scalable in some ways? I'm not going, this is not my main topic. I will not go very much into it, but why am I putting this topic here? Because, during my Harvard times, when I was actually doing business models there, this is something that strikes me a lot, because all the very interesting business model comes from the West, all right? Whereas in the East, our business model is pretty traditional. A lot of trading, a lot of utilization, a lot of solutions, but we are never being platform of how to leverage on others. So I mean, I'm giving you this thought because I think it's this important time for you to think about your business model, how you can refine. And for me, whenever I look at my clients, I mean, big or small, I will look at their business model in a very detailed way before we even advise them on how they should construct their IP portfolio. So this is actually very important. So I give this thought to you, all right, not dive in too much. And technology, all right, in the trilogy, what is the kind of route you can take? Two routes, quite in a very nutshell. Licensing or develop, all right? You license from somebody, buy from somebody, use it, all right, or you develop yourself. Both has pros and cons. All right, there's no straightforward way. But like I say, depending, if you develop your own technology, you need to be able to make sure that that gives you extra edge. No point reinventing the wheel unless it costs you a lot. If it costs you a lot to actually license, and yet you can, I mean, there's no advantage, then of course you need to think whether do you develop it. So I think this is a balancing game that you should do, right? Talking about technology planning, we're not going to do that very deeply today because it's a very another profound topic, which if in future, if let's say we have chance, I may share with you again, because I do technology planning for multinational company as well. But basically, I feel that if the market, if you have a technology that's ready for licensing, consider that. But of course, there's always a budget that you have within your own product or solution to see what kind of stuff you should license. Multinational company, say for example, the big ones, they don't buy everything. Or, I mean, they don't develop everything as well. They buy solutions too. So it's not necessary that they will, always develop, but they develop the core technology that they will differentiate themselves from others. Okay, so for you, please think about that. And this actually ties in very nicely with IP, all right? But a lot of times, don't mistaken, IP is not just about technology. IP can be a lot of other things. It can be something that I'm going to share shortly, all right? Basically, a lot of times, this is what you are in IP. IP can be a straightforward brand, all right? So for example, what is intellectual property? It's not just for protection, all right? It is something for branding. It is possibly 80% of your corporate value, source of innovation, all right, additional revenue. So you need to be able to comprehend that actually IP within your company is not just to waste money, all right? A lot of times people think of, oh, I do not need to, make sure I have IP strategy. Answer is no, because even like for me right now, I'm also facing some always some challenges. Okay, do I need to get this domain? Do I need to file this trademark in these countries? Because they are all spending money. But I just imagine if somebody actually take on my brand and license and actually trademark it in that country, and I have to go and license from them, or even have a litigation with them just to take their brand off, that's waste of money. All right, so think about future, how these things will actually impact you. Okay, typical IP in your company is copyright, all right, patents, trade secret, trademark. Others could be your own internal, your contracts, your contact, your data, or whatever. So there are many things that you can group under IP. And it is very important for you as, if you are business owners, you need to know what are your IPs in your company. It can be your, your trade secret. All right, do you actually practice the real trade secret kind of enablement? So for example, trade secret is not just telling people I'm going to have a trade secret. You need to do a certain measures in order to have trade secret. Do you have your own employment contracts in place to make sure that your employees have all the confidentiality recognized and data protection, as well as other things like IP assignment to the company done? I think these things is what you need to look out for. And whether are you able to generate patents? Do you have businesses to protect like trademarks and so forth? All right, so these are important, right? I won't bore you down with all this because this one probably you can search. So these are the things I've just mentioned. But just to give you a very quick example, right? Branding, like Michelin, I think everybody knows that. Michelin is a tire company, right? So do you know that actually, I think a couple of years ago, I looked at their revenue from intellectual property licensing itself, all right? 5% of their revenue for Michelin comes from brand licensing. Brand licensing, okay, brand licensing is like taking the brand and license it out. Michelin licensed their brand as Michelin star restaurant, right? Everybody knows that, all right? And for example, Ferrari, for example, Porsche, they have Porsche design, these are kind of brand extension. Like Ferrari, they get Ferrari apparel, it's brand extension. You can license that brand and put it in your clothes. I believe some of the fashion brand, they also license out to people like spectacles. You can talk about the Italian brands and so forth. They don't make these spectacles. Somebody licensed from them, pay them some royalties, and they take the brands to make products. Like Daniel Hatchett, all right, what Polo Clubs and all those are actually brands from somebody. You need to pay the brand owner a certain amount of royalty per year. You can take them and then make your business. So does your company has any brands that you build that can enable you a new business called brand extension? This is something that usually I don't see in Asia right now, but very much you look at the European famous brands like the designers, and so I mean they even like car companies, and so they have brand extension. All right, totally unregulated. They can always kind of license it out, and that is an amazing resource of revenue. Patents, all right, patents is something that is a little bit more complicated, which I don't want to bore you the technical details. Basically, they are technology inventions and they are jurisdiction based and so forth, all right? You can file a patent and then you can own the patent, but doesn't mean that, you know, you can go around telling or stopping people, because there's no way of voluntarily stopping of, you know, replicating the technology you have. So you have to take actions, okay? And crafting patent to business is very common. You look at many different kind of companies. They actually create patents and then generate business, create patent, generate business. Well, in Peace Future, we do advocate you take other people's patent and then you generate your own business through our, I mean, some of the platforms that we have like IP Hatch. Okay. So basically, this is just a table where we found that in a company with intellectual property and a company without intellectual property, of course, in terms of value and all that, is definitely much better. All right, and VCs actually give you a little bit more valuation on top of it. This is just a quick comparison on that. Oops. All right, and then just for some of you who are interested in this company, for example, like Qualcomm, all right, this is the amount of money they make from licensing. All right, 2017. I didn't put in the latest figure, but this is like the figure as of 2017. This is the amount of money they make, almost $6 billion. All right, from licensing, and companies like IBM is a 1 billion. Companies like I have like figures like from Nokia, it's about 1.6 billion euro. You have Microsoft and so forth. They're also at the, you know, closing the billion range. So if you have IP, can you imagine if you're a company, tech company in the bills, if you don't have a portfolio, you would not be able to enjoy the additional defense you can have with IP and additional value you generate from your IP. And of course, this is actually one example on how this company actually have IP and then become IPO, and then, you know, the price is actually all very favorable to them. And then this is an example of, you know, like for example, Awfully Chocolate. This is a local brand, right? So it's very important for them to protect the trademark and also the trade secret, okay? Because the recipe is a trade secret. Recipe of Coca-Cola is a trade secret. How do they protect it? They have to make some efforts to protect it. Trademark, very important. So if you see Awfully Chocolate, they are almost everywhere right now in Singapore, and they are moving out of Singapore. And you sometimes can see them overseas. I mean, this is something that, you know, you need to consider very early. Because if you do it only when you're expanding, you realize that, oh, somebody would have copied you. Somebody would have taken the trademark, all right? And this is one example, XMI, some of you may know, they actually do speakers, all right? And because they didn't protect their design, they didn't emphasize on their brands, and they were very strong at one time, and then they suddenly, you don't really hear very much of them. I mean, it's unfortunate, but therefore, with no intellectual property, I think this is something that you need to think about, all right? Okay, then coming to the close of my presentation, just about 2 more slides. These are some examples that I have, that we have some technologies that we work with multinational company to offer, all right? And many of this, they are looking at very open innovation kind of model. Some of them, they are looking at joint ventures. Some of them, they are looking at how to do royalties. Some of them, they even look at how they can invest in you on doing such things. So I wouldn't be able to go through every single one of you. You're interested in like working some kind of licensing or some kind of collaboration with a multinational company, you can always approach me. And or you're going to buy any of the patents that may be suiting your business, we can always look at your company case by case. So these are just some examples of the technology that we have at hand, like even things like flexible battery, very, very sexy technology that you may want to deploy in your products and so forth. Like vibration energy harvester, this kind of stuff. Very niche technology that can differentiate yourself in the market. And separately, we also run, there's also another way. If you have no way to actually filing your IP, you say that it's expensive, I don't want. Okay, for people, I mean, for startups and SME in this space who are looking for new diversification, you can always look at our platform called IP Hedge. Our IP Hedge is a platform where we actually assign and give you the patents, and you build on top of it and you scale together with the multinational company. All right, this is something that you can look at. We have one that is ongoing in Singapore. The one in Hong Kong is still running until end of month. All right, the Singapore one supposedly will end this Friday. If you suddenly get inspired, all right, go online and have a look. It's on iphedge.com/SG Summit 19. Just go there and have a look, right? So yeah, so I think my time is almost up. I don't want to eat into your so-called time for networking. So I shall end here, and then maybe we can move for back to Glenn. Thank you, Glenn.
Thanks very much, Jason. Hey, I think we do have a little bit of time. It's 3:15. I'd like to sort of get a Q&A session up and open to anyone who sort of have any questions for Jason that you can sort of pose. For those of you who are keen on what, you can unmute yourself and then probably ask Jason a question. If not, if you feel a bit more comfortable typing, you can actually go to the Zoom chat and then actually pose a question. So perhaps maybe to sort of start off, does anyone have want to raise your hands to have a question, guys? So I know a little bit more about IP thanks to our interaction, Jason. So I think maybe I can sort of ask the first question, right, and then see whether how do we go about this. Okay, we all understand trademarks is registered, and we all understand that patents can be designed and registered, right? Then you've got copyrights and you've got trade secrets. What can we do with them? Yeah.
Right. Trade secrets, I think, is something that you need to really deliberately tell people that you're protecting in the whole company, in public space. You need to tell people like what Coca-Cola did, say that, hey, I have a trade secret. And then you need to show that you are you have deployed means to actually protect them, and limited access and so forth. So of course, there's a whole kind of regime that you need to go through to make sure that, hey, you really treat this as trade secret, because everybody can say it's trade secret, but you need to really say that. Then copyright is something very interesting, because copyright is something that you would want to really date stamp. All right, if it's something that you come up with a fantastic lyrics of new song or whatever, you can always go to the lawyer and then date stamp it. All right. First thing, you need to endorse that is the day where you actually came up with this new article or new lyrics or new poem or whatever that you would like to push out, and you tell people it's a copyright. Whereas for record, I mean the records company, they have done that by marketing and so forth. They can say it's copyright, but you're not anything in the public, right? So you need to really announce the date when it is a copyright from, because you don't want to actually come to the point at who actually came up with this thing first. Okay. Yeah, right. I hope I answered your question on that.
Yeah, I think, I actually, the other question that I sort of had, if nobody else have a question, if you have, please raise your hands. I get this question quite a lot from mainly service providers. I mean, Singapore has a lot of service providers and training companies and train soft skills businesses, right? So one question we sort of keep getting would be, let's say if I have a proprietary methodology, methods of to do something, whether is it training, whether is it consultancy, whether is it execution, of my system, can I protect it?
Well, I think in terms of business model, patents and all that, not all the countries actually allowed to file it. I think especially in US, you can't do that. I think one of the best way is, of course, this kind of processes that you have, or the thinking thought, it's always actually good to put it under a product brand. You know, you come up with some names for it, you know, and then you try to position that as a product with a brand, with a trademark strategy to actually launch out. I mean, that is one way that we will recommend to some of our customers who actually come to us, say, hey, you know, I've been doing this thing for many years, you know, so many of my staff actually knows it. So you would have a trade secret on that, because especially when you share with somebody already, there's no trade secret. When you share anything in the public, there's no. The only thing you can really lock this down, if you can't get, I mean, unless you have technology wrapping around it, then yes, please go for invention, which is patents. All right. If you know technology, then yes, let's go for a trademark. That's what I would recommend. All right. Brand it as a service or whatever, and then push it out with strong marketing to say that you're using it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we have some questions from the floor. So I think we have one. IP registration normally take how long to complete? I think trademarks are fast. Not that long. I think it's about a year. Depending on country, Singapore is pretty fast. You can do that pretty efficiently. But you know, patents will take like 3 years usually. Singapore claim to have a faster route for AI patents. Personally, I've not seen how fast, but typically 3 years, I would say. And of course, when you file the patent until the day when you get granted the invention, right? You go through a lot of process, right? A lot of interaction. If you are going through a representative of a law firm and so forth, they will charge you each particular transaction. Because I don't do any prosecution, okay? So I don't really do any filing. So what we advise the guys to do is to really do a lot of due diligence beforehand, submit their application, and then keep their fingers crossed on what's coming through. You may get the patent granted in 3 years, fast case, sometimes 5 years, but it's a long process. All right, and I think somebody asked me what are my ballpark charges to access the company's IP and come up with a plan for them to protect and commercialize and maximize their IP. I think it's quite subjective. I can't really tell you the figure. I mean, if you're a big company, I think the skill is different. If you're really a small company, sometimes we look at you and we say, hey, you know, maybe I just give you a very, very light consulting or advisory on what you can do. Because actually, very important thing is not so much about, first thing is that when we actually looked at the company, because we are an IP investment bank, so we don't really look at purely consulting work from day one. So we don't have a framework on the standard pricing. So we go from client to client, depending on how much we need to do. And depending on the type of companies you are at, there's no point we have like a ballpark figure, and that, you know, that may not work out because our core business is IP investment. So IP advisory is important because that's like the first step. So usually we'll see how we can look at it as a bundle kind of advisory that we put forward. So I mean, if you have very, very concerned about your own IP situation, yeah, feel free to come and talk to us privately. We can always talk and come up with some schemes for you. Okay.
Another question on IP. How do we know whether, from Zachary? Zachary is asking, how do we know whether we have something that has IP value and worth protecting?
All right, that's a very good question. I think, yeah, a lot of times all the inventors feel that their invention is the best. Yeah, talk to somebody skilled in the art to ask them, hey, have you heard before this? Of course, the person has to, you have to put it in a different way, because once you, okay, IP is like that. You're not supposed to be speaking in front of the public to let the whole world knows what's your idea. Because once you speak, that date is the stamp. All right, you yourself become what you call the prior art. All right, prior art means anything that actually has been said. Even like a cartoon, like say Jackson's, come up with this, press a button and then the food is out, that kind of stuff. If you form a pattern on that, the Jackson cartoon becomes your prior art. So anything that has been said, even by the inventor themselves, it becomes a prior art. So I mean, what I want to say is that, you know, if you want to check whether is it worthwhile filing, maybe just first thing, check among the experts, see whether, whatever idea that you have, maybe not in a detailed way, is it out there already? Okay. Another way, of course, is to check, it's more technical. If you're talking about design, you're talking about, trademark, or even you're talking about the patents itself, then you need to use database research. You can always use Google, all right, but they are not the best because Google is supposed to be quick, fast, and very easy to use. They will not go very extensive, all right. If you really need to go down to finding good, a range of technologies that may be covering your technology, then you need to use some kind of patent tool. There's a lot of services out there for landscaping. We call it landscaping to actually understand what is out there. Personally, I mean, our company also kind of recommends some tools which is very affordable but yet very good, that can be used for inventors like you guys. So I would say very important thing. First thing, look for experts. Second thing, do your own search. You need to actually find whether is there anybody doing it. Then whether is there any value, or that's actually very good to assess whether how much market size or market share can you secure with the IP. That is when I put on my venture capital hat. It's like IP value, how big is this part of your IP to your business? It can be a tiny part, or it can be just a supplementary part that is not important. So if you didn't craft your business strategy to make the IP looks big, then there's no point as well. So it's very much case by case. Okay.
We have a question from Vic. Vic, would you like to voice your own question so that everyone can hear? You can unmute yourself.
Hi. I probably typed too much.
I mean, your voice rather than my own voice, right?
Yeah, I have, thanks for this, but I have a couple of questions. One is IP a one-time registration? And I'm curious, do you register in the country where you operate, and how does it work if your platform or your website is worldwide? Is there such thing as a global IP to protect your trademark and IP?
Okay, I mean, to answer your question, we are talking about business marks like trademarks, right? You can file Singapore, say for example, exposed to Singapore, then you can go through the Madrid Convention to file in, you need to select all the different countries. So it's actually jurisdiction based. So depending on where you think most important your product is, all right, there's no, unless you have very, very deep pockets, not even the MNC, all right, MNC don't file in every single country in the world. So you have to select your markets that you will have impact. And then you would want to protect your brand. Say, for example, US market is huge. You want to be there, Europe, China, Japan. So you have to file in all this area. All right. And then, designate the different countries that you want it to be protected in terms of your trademark. In terms of patents, all right, it all depends whether you want to defend your sales or your manufacturing. So those are different kind of strategy that you need to adopt. Because if you are manufacturing, say in Thailand, all right, and you're worried that somebody in Thailand actually manufacture the same thing and then ship it out to Africa, which you are not there, then maybe you need to file something in Thailand to protect, so that you can restrict the guys from exporting. All right, but then if you are looking a lot on your end markets, and so then maybe it's US, maybe it's China, it's Japan. So you have to really, it all boils down to your end strategy. But just take note that, okay, I'm not from the service filing side, all right? So I'm more a little bit on the IP owner side. You always need to choose the countries carefully, because every single patent or every single trademark you file, you need to maintain them and pay for them at a certain point. It costs a lot of money. It doesn't mean that you will be super rich, all right, because you filed super many patents. You need to be strategic, because if you want the investors, or if you want investors or you want to protect your business, they will always be looking at whether you have strategic filings or not. For big companies, they have gone beyond just being strategic. Sometimes they are filing counter defense and so forth. The big companies have all sorts of different other strategy that they looked at. SME usually is protecting themselves and also increase of value. For MNC, they are looking at defense, offense, as well as future proof and so forth. So it's a lot more complicated strategy. All right.
Well, how long does the filing last? Meaning, is it yearly you're going to renew this?
All right. Patent will actually last for 20 years, but you know, there will be fees along the way that you need to pay. We call it annual fees. There's also, before you get grant, you also have a lot of outputs and actions. Then in terms of trademark wise, there will be maintenance fee. I think different countries have different time frame. I think Singapore is, I think, the 10th year you got to pay again or something like that. So the typical grant time for trademark is faster. Sometimes within a year you can get, or sometimes faster. Patents are usually 3 years.
Thanks. Thank you.
Okay, so do we have any more questions to raise? Does anyone have?
No, I really wanted to ask Jason. Vic's question is not completed. This is also very interesting because the product also will tend to evolve because you keep having new innovations and stuff. So once we file a trademark and then we add components or we make it better, do we file for the extra or we have to start again from the start? How does this work?
If you're talking about products, I think you're referring to technology.
Yeah,
technology. Yeah. So I think that will be more on the patent side. So big companies, they file every single thing that they file new and that is going into their product. They will be protecting that as long as they are not filed in other prior arts. All right. So if something that is very strategic, for example, I just give you, I can say the names, like for example, Intel, right? They file a lot of patents on drones and they're not using it. But why are they doing that? Because they were actually thinking that this is a big market for them. So they've been filing again, every year through the R&D and so forth. So that's why just now I came off with this trilogy of the business, because I want to give you guys a feel on how you guys should think about your business. So if you are having a lot of thoughts about improving your products and you need to have a technology roadmap on your deployment, and therefore you need to think of how you want to complement it into your IP strategy, because that locks value for your business. So and that's how I actually approach on this talk today, to actually just give you guys a glimpse of how multinational companies do things. All right, and see whether you guys can take that and relate to your own business, be it on an online business or what, because you will have some kind of you need to think about what you can actually protect. A lot of times you just keep selling and selling, but you forgot that you have to lock your value down somewhere, because your employees can leave, your products can expire, but your IP is still there. Then that's what, for example, Kodak. Do you know Kodak is selling? Kodak is bankrupt, right? So they are still selling hard disks. Why? Because somebody actually licensed the brand and sell hard disks Kodak made. But people buy because they recognize the brand they thought they're making, and they recognize that Kodak is an international brand, so they actually buy hard disks we make with Kodak brand. So you need to think of how to keep your value. All right. So if you have a grand vision for a business, do that. Okay.
Is Kodak available for licensing?
Yeah, of course.
Really?
Yeah. You need to be able to find a person
who owns the
well,
brand.
there's some company. I know some Kodak guys. Yeah, their name card is in the form of a film, very sexy.
Hey, really, actually, Sebastian is in this group, no? So Sebastian, you should go and find a way to go and license Kodak brand and then use it for your own visual images.
Well, there's a lot of ways. I think there's a lot of licensing available, and you can always leverage on those kind of IPs that has been formulated by the others. McDonald's do that for Sanrio.
Sorry? Oh, yeah.
They do that for Sanrio. They make a lot of money through the Hello Kitties, right?
Yeah. Sorry, Sebastian, we can't hear you. You want to say something?
No, I wanted to ask, is the enforcement effective? Because if you file it, you hope that, if someone really takes your IP, you can go and chase them down.
Yeah, I think I will answer this question along with, I think the last Zachary question has been, okay, when you file the IP, all right, doesn't mean that your company will be protected. Your invention will be protected, because you need to let it be granted. Okay, Granted means the official have to issue you a kind of a certificate to say that, hey, you know, you own the patent and so forth. And that process takes a while, all right? And until you get the certificate, you know, you cannot really go and litigate others, all right? And usually when you want to go to litigate others, there's a process, or should I say there's a way to do it. You need to first send some warning letters, you know, some demand letter, you know, to tell them not to infringe or what, and then maybe you need to negotiate and so forth. So having a patent that you want to file, or IP that you want to file, is many times you need to wait for the legal status to be updated, or should I say to be approved, before you can actually utilize it for your defense or any offense. I mean, that's why personally, we always tell our customers, or even like small, medium enterprise, buy your first portfolio. Don't bother to file, because when you file, you need time to wait, and then it doesn't add on to the value. Buy a portfolio, build on top of it, and file those new invention on top of it. And therefore, you can have a portfolio from in a quicker and possibly cheaper way. All right.
Okay, cool.
Can I add on a few comments? Since
Sure.
I also represent iPod Society, I have to say something.
Of course, you're the, yes.
Okay, I saw Zachary's question, so I'll take that for you. In the world of intellectual property, whether it's trademark or patents or design, all right, the world has already aligned the whole regime, right? Protection is based on first to file, right? So the moment you file, you already have the advantage. So even though you haven't gotten the certificate, you haven't gotten it approved, right? But you already have the advantage. Whoever comes after you, all right, if they because of course, if your mark hasn't been approved, all right, if someone try to file after that, right, of course you already have the first right above him, so you can already contest to say, you know, you can block that filing. Right, so remember, it's so US used to have it differently. US is first to invent, all right. But in 2011, the American Invention Act called AIA, they all changed that, right? So the whole world now is aligned, all right. So IP protection is based on first to file, all right, and of course approval takes time for the different types of filing. Now the second thing, maybe I also want to add on to the Vic's question, right? Now when you do filing, you have to remember IP is territorial, all right. So if you file in US, you don't file in China, your protection is only in US, not in China, okay? And then once you miss the deadline, then China is free for all. If someone copy your either your patent or your trademark, right, you have no rights to go after them, okay? So it's very important. So some people ask, so I file in the country I manufacture, or do I file in the country I market? Then you got to ask yourself, where will be the market do you think is going to infringe your invention? All right, you want to play safe, you file both. Right, because if you feel that the market, you know, the counterfeit is going to come from the manufacturing side, then you need to have your protection at the manufacturing end. Otherwise, you close the front door, you leave the back door open. You know, people can still circumvent it. Okay, so it's territorial. So remember that. That's why IP filing can be quite expensive. Okay, so some strategy has to go into it. Trademark has 45 classes. All right. And every mark is considered a mark. And most places, right, one mark, one class, all right? One mark, one class. You go to a loan agent, right? They may be willing to charge you 800, all right, 1,000, right? You go to a lawyer, maybe 1,500. You go to a higher end lawyer, 2,500, right? So if you want to file everything, 45 classes, one mark, so you can multiply how much that will be, right? And then, okay, then there's one more thing I wanted to share is, so remember it's territorial. So you have to plan your, you know, I mean, of course, most of us would have resource constraint, so got to think about it. And I think another thing to take note, since most of us here are SMEs, right, you see why the Americans and the Japanese economy scale up very fast. Okay, I mean, if I were to share with you some of my insight when I was a director for international cooperation or international engagement, you see, Lee Kuan Yew is very smart. He knew for the longest time that Singapore's economy, we are not inventive enough. Actually, a lot of the way we make money, and many of us entrepreneurs, right, we have trader mentality. We are not the inventor mentality. We like to buy low, sell high. If you look at property is like that one. nothing. You just right timing and buy low, sell high. That's why a lot of Chinese loves property, right? And then we like to, then we will make money in the stock market, also buy low, sell high. That's about it, right? So Asia for a long time, we are, we are very sort of this trader mentality. So we don't focus so much on IP. So in Asia for a long time, right, our IP regime is very, very lax. So even Singapore, it wasn't until 2011 that we revamped it, even though we have our intellectual property office for a long time, right? So after 2011, then hit 2015, when the world was changing, Singapore realized that we cannot continue to depend on trading strategy, right, to make money, right? So that's why we revamped. So when I joined IPOS at the time, it was also the period where Singapore revamped the whole IP regime, right? We started our master plan, we got all the institutions. Of course, there's a lot of challenge up and down. There are failures, there are successes, right? But Singapore being Singapore, once the government set our eyes to totally go after IP as an important economic pillar of growth, all right, from a nobody, we align ourselves, we became, our IP standards. Can you imagine before our revamp, our system is called self-assessment, right? Meaning to say you go to IP office, okay, when you file your patent, right? Because IPOS don't have examiners, so they don't know whether your invention is really the only one in the world, okay? So they ask you, is this the only one in the world? It's all based on declaration. You say, yes, it's the only one in the world. Okay, they give you they will issue you the cert. But if you use in a market, someone sue you, right? They let the court decide. Not IPOS a problem. That's the kind of regime we used to have. But after 2011, when we totally revamped, right, then we set up our search and examination unit. So that's when it's called a positive. What is it called now? Right. So the system now aligns to the rest of the world to say now if you come and apply, not you declare anymore. I will do the search. I will determine whether your patent has passed the novelty test. So it becomes one where so then of course we align with the European office, American office. So in the world of IP, the top 5 is called IP5, like American, US, and the CJK, like China, Japan, Korea, right? So Singapore, of course, and in 2015 during my time there, we also joined the club of the rich and powerful. There are about 19 countries now that can do PCT, the patent the patent cooperation treaty is one where you can do filing for for other countries. That means you can do such an examination for other countries. So Singapore qualified into that link. Okay. So now I shared with you all this thing is because the Singapore government today recognize that making money out of a trade mentality is going to get increasingly tough because price is already square off already, right? So you want to make that small margin is very tough. So that's why if you are the kind of trader, I just buy vegetable from one side and sell to another side, and then make that spread. I think it's going to get increasingly difficult. The model you got to think about now is licensing. All right, Singapore brand name has licensing value. If you create an education product, you go to the developing country and say this curriculum is from Singapore. People are willing to license it. You create you can even, so if you want to play the game, the gaps, right? You can even look at technology that are not patented in Singapore. Good technology not patented. You just take, if you want to play safe, backward innovate a bit, tamba 5-10% innovation to it, change the name, change the look, change the shape. You can go out and license it. But of course, that one then licensing. Another point, I wanted to share is that so people also ask, okay, can I don't protect if you don't register for protection? Okay, but just to let you know, in the eyes of the law, in the eyes of the court, for trademark, see, easier to understand. If someone infringe your trademark, you didn't protect it. Can you fight them? Yes, you can. Maybe by proving that you've been around long enough, customer know you longer, all that. Yeah, you may win the fight. But the person who infringe you will probably get away with just a fine. But the moment you have your trademark protected, right? If whoever infringe you, that's criminal offense. If your trademark is not protected, right? If someone infringes, it's only a civil offense. I just pay a fine, I get away with it. But if your mark is protected, I infringe, right? I go to jail. So that's why once your mark is protected, people get lost. The infringers, they will be scared, they will think twice, all right? Because the law that go after the counterfeiter can be a lot more harsher. Okay, that's my few cent worth, just to share.
Thanks, Alan. Okay, so I sort of want to then get everybody back on the same page and tell everyone if you guys are keen to learn more find out more, please go and join our Emerge Stronger chat group. So I'm trying to put up our QR code. Do we see it? So don't mind, I'm trying to get my screen in order. Okay, is it full screen? Sorry, Alan, can you help me check?
Yes, yes, it is.
Okay, guys. So I just wanted to do another one more shout out. This is our QR code and our WhatsApp chat where we will share Jason's slides a little later. Once we get them from him, Jason, right? And then we will also share whatever tidbits that Alan has also shared through the channel. So for those of you who are still not on our chat group, please go and join us there. Jason and Alan are also on the chat group. Jason, I assume you're on our Emerge Stronger chat. No, sorry, not you are on our Brands for Good chat. This is the Brands for Good chat itself. So if Jason as well as Alan is also there, so you can ask questions, you can go to them directly and then join us here on the chat. We will sort of going to break out into our sessions here. We have got only left about 30 of us left on this page, so I think we just break it out into two rooms and then go into open networking. Jason Low will be floating. He will go into both breakout rooms as well and give you a chance for you to speak directly to him there, and then for you to get to ask some direct questions there within the breakout rooms itself. So as I mentioned, do take the time to meet other people and get to know others within these breakout rooms. So thank you very much, guys, and for being a part of our